Jim Schultz here for Calculated Risk, and don't forget, before we get started, the best ways you can help us are by liking the video or subscribing to the channel. Either one of those really helps us out a lot. So this is it, one of the classic tasty strategies, the short strangle. I mean, it's pretty much classic for any option seller out there, but we certainly use it all the time here at Tasty. And what do you do with a short strangle? You sell a put below and you sell a call above. Right? Same underlying, same expiration. You're really selling premium on both sides of the market, really wanting the stock to just kind of meander around and not really do too much. There's no prediction, there's no direction, there's no needing to be right about where the stock is going. You're really trying to tap into the non-directional elements and non-directional metrics of time and volatility. Let the positive theta take over, let the negative vega take over, and that is how a short strangle is structured. So here today, in a couple of seconds, I want to hop in and let's break one down. So before we hop into the platform, let's lay down an even stronger foundation. Why do we like short strangle so much? Why do we like short premium so much? Let me count the ways. But specifically related to a short strangle, in a market that's governed by unpredictability and randomness, man, it can be really, really difficult to know where the stock market is going next, to know where Netflix is going next, and to know where the S&P 500 is going next. It might even be, dare I say, downright impossible. And therein lies the beauty of a strategy like a short strangle. You're selling that premium on both sides. You've got the theta decay working for you on both sides. And so in a market that is bouncing around randomly and is quite unpredictable, you don't need to know where the stock is going, right? You typically have a very wide profit zone setup. You can typically sell a put pretty far below where the stock is and sell a call pretty far above where the stock is. And as long as the stock stays between your strikes, you're in really good shape. You don't really need the stock to do anything special. You just kind of need it to not rip your face off, because it's been said before, and I don't know who said it, but man, it's a catchy little jingle that sticks with you despite your best efforts. For every gimme, there's a gotcha. So what's the gotcha with a short strangle? Well, it's undefined risk. You don't have long legs that are capping your risk. You don't have long legs that are capping your downside on either side of the market. So if you want to tap into the high probabilities of a short strangle, that's the price of admission. If you want to tap into the unfiltered Greek exposure of a short strangle, that's the price of admission. And if you want to tap into the easier adjustments that you can make down the road, that is the price of admission. So all right, now that we have a foundation set, let's hop into Tasty Trade. Let's show how to set up a short strangle strategy. So I am inside of my Tasty Trade platform, and I've got Starbucks pulled up, mostly because autumn has forced me to pull up a Starbucks. But if you take a look at Starbucks, you go into the July cycle with 39 days to go. Typically, when it comes to order entry on all of our short premium trades, we like to be around that 45-day marker. So the monthly cycle closest to 45 days is going to make the most sense. The nice thing about Starbucks is it's only a $95 stock. And so we're not dealing with a stock or an index that's 200 or 300 or 500. So this is going to be an easier trade to fit into, even a modestly sized portfolio, as we'll get into here in just a couple of minutes. Okay, so we've got our expiration set. One of the next things you want to make sure to check is, where is the implied volatility rank on that stock? And generally speaking, we like to be around 30 or higher. And so Starbucks is a little bit shy of 30, but for the purposes of this illustration, we are already too far in to turn back now. So Starbucks is going to be our choice. Again, typically looking for about 30 or higher, but 29, 30, if it's good enough for government work, it is absolutely good enough for us. So when we go into the July cycle with 39 days to go, now I'm generally going to be looking at what type of delta am I looking to choose for my actual strategy. And generally speaking, with a strangle, we like to live right around the 16 delta marker on both sides of the market. Now, with Starbucks, you have $5 wide strikes. You don't have the dollar wide strike increments that you might have in an index like SPY, IWM, QQQ, but those are obviously much higher priced instruments, so it's harder to do that with a modestly sized account. So I did want to choose a stock like Starbucks in all seriousness, because it's going to be something that a lot more traders can fit into their portfolio. So let's just choose, like if I chose maybe a 26 delta on the put side, it's a little higher than we would typically like, but it's okay. And then maybe I choose a 17 delta on the call side. I'm going to sell the put and I'm going to sell the call. Again, I'm collecting premium on both sides of the market. So if I delete those circles, I go in and sell the put, sell my 90 put, and then I sell my 105 call, you can see I'm going to be able to collect about a $2.30 credit for this short strangle. And again, you can toggle the strikes up and down to kind of form fit this strategy to the way that you want to trade. Maybe you like to take less risk, so you move the strikes out and you collect even less. Maybe you're okay taking more risk, so you bring the strikes in and you collect even more. Again, it's gimmies and gotchas. It's pros and cons. It's an exchange between, your probability of profit, which you see right here, and your credit collected. Like right now, I kind of like the 90-105, but if I wanted to increase my probabilities even more and I'm willing to give up some credit, I can move my 90 strike down to the 85. Now my pop just jumped to 76% and my credit is $1.43. Again, this is for you to decide. You have to blaze your own trail forward through the forest. I like the 90-105, but you can toggle this around to customize it to fit your account size, your experience level, your preferences, your risk tolerance, all those different things. Again, understand that the credit that I collect is going to be the maximum profit. And so, I'm collecting about $2.34. That means my maximum profit is going to be $233 or $234 as the market is moving around, because the maximum profit here is showing you on a total contract basis, whereas the credit that I'm collecting is on a per share basis. And then, of course, you've got the probability of collecting 50% at any time over the life of the trade. We've got a little bit of positive delta. The extrinsic value is going to map to the credit that I collect because I'm selling out of the money options. My theta is going to show me how much I'm collecting per day in terms of daily decay. We've already covered the maximum profit. The maximum loss is negative infinity, which that is certain to twist up a couple of knickers out there. But in order for that to happen, Starbucks would have to print positive infinity. Is that a zero probability event? Not theoretically. Is there a zero probability event practically? I think it is, but you have to draw your own conclusion. But lastly, for the buying power, typically we like to live between 3 and 7% of our account size when it comes to our buying power on an undefined risk position. Now, in this account, this is the From Theory to Practice account, we have right now around 34, maybe 35,000 in the account. So this is only, about 4% of the account size. So from a position sizing standpoint, this fits a lot of the criteria that we would look for an undefined risk position. So for you out there, if you're considering, this trade or any other trade when it comes to undefined risk, I would say 3 to 7% is going to make a lot of sense. So if you want to do this trade or a trade similar to this one, $1,300, you're probably going to want to have at least $20,000 in your account. You could maybe eke by with like 16, 17,000, but just to keep a nice round number for my round number bros that might be watching the show today, I'm going to say 20,000 or more is probably what you want to have to put on this undefined risk strategy or one similar to it when it comes to a short strangle. So those are the key elements that you want to watch out for or be on the lookout for or understand when it comes to setting up a short strangle. Now, how do we manage the trade from here? Well, let's go ahead and let's pick that low-hanging fruit right off the tree. Managing winners. Generally speaking, 50% of max profit is going to be our default setting. Now, if it overperforms in just a couple of days or like a week or what have you, and you're already at 20% really quickly or 25% really quickly, then go ahead and take it off early. Like, that's absolutely not going to hurt you. Like, there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. You're doing better than you thought you would do at that time, so take that capital and redeploy it somewhere else. I generally like to stick with my 50% of max profit target because I already feel like I'm managing my winners aggressively. My losers are going to be bigger. That is the game that I'm playing, and that is indeed what I'm signing up for, but I want to make sure I'm getting more juice out of the orange on the trades that work. But you could make a really good strategic case for managing the ones that overperform early a little bit earlier. All right, that's the winners, but that's the easy stuff. What about the losers? Well, that is actually a multifactorial thing. And so, just to build in a wee little bit of drama into the Calculator Risk series, you're going to have to stay tuned for a future episode where we will talk about managing losers on a short strangle. And so I'll see you guys next time.